And now, the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we're back again, talking about episode 532, Pink is Not My Color.
You sounded very NPR there. You're like, hello and welcome to Fresh Air. This is Dylan Weaver.
Yeah,
You sounded so cheery.
Every once in a while, I switch up my cadence.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's worth it. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. So this is...
Sometimes I think I rush it for no actual reason. And I think it sounds better when I,
Just
actually,
slow it down.
take my
Just
time
get in
on it a
touch
little
with
bit.
your... Yeah. I mean, we got the setup going. We got the headphones. We got the official mics and the laptops. I mean,
Yeah. Spoiler for the people listening. We have 2 pairs of headphones, 2 mics, 2 pop filters, 2 laptops, and an iPad.
And live audio feeding back to us. Like, this is...
Otherwise, why would we have headphones otherwise?
Well, I mean, you know, we can hear ourselves. This is just like borderline low quality radio stuff right here.
Except that we're still in a bedroom
Yep.
with bad acoustics.
Yeah. When are we gonna fix that?
I don't know.
Maybe we just move somewhere.
Yeah.
Or
When Andrew and I get our own apartment,
that would be so bad.
we'll both stay in one bedroom and make the other bedroom a studio.
Oh yeah, we will get so much more Andrew Sabo content. Because I will have to justify it. I will have to justify having an entire room.
We'll also get chairs that don't squeak.
Yep.
And learn not to tap our fingers.
Oh. Wait, what do you mean tap our fingers? Like cracker fingers?
Cracking or just...
Or like this stuff?
Yeah. We get a surprising amount of...
mic feedback from
Yep,
that.
of just people touching their mics.
Yeah. That's so odd that that's a thing, but that definitely is a thing.
Yeah.
Now you know, audio medium. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, they all hear it every week.
Oh, that's true.
Because I don't have good enough software to edit it out.
Yeah, well, and I don't really listen to the show.
No, I mean, I only edit it.
Yeah. Although I did just listen to... This is not a proud moment, and we'll get into the episode. I forgot which episode I was prepping for today. And so I had to go into the end of last episode to see which one we were talking about. I was like,
You could have texted me, Andrew.
yeah, I could have, but I also could just do that. And then I was like, wow, these outro credits are very nice. I've literally never heard them before.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Nathan does a good job on that.
he does a great job. And I didn't realize you superimposed the score on the outside, or
Oh,
on the
yeah.
outro and everything. And it lines up real well.
Yeah. It's almost as though I've been doing this for 40 episodes.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. There's 40 of them, for better or for worse. I say better, but you know,
For better or for worse, an episode we covered. It's an episode that exists.
it definitely does, and we might cover it at some point.
I don't.
Let's get into Pink is Not My Color, Dylan.
All right. Oh, hi there. Welcome to the pod. I'm Dylan James Weaver, but most folks around here just call me Dylan. Why don't you get the whole family together and join us for another exciting episode of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. We've got a double feature directed and written by our buddy Nathan Hubler.
Gotta love him. Okay.
Yeah, doing a good job. This
you have any-
episode first aired November 8th of 2003.
Okay.
And we're going to continue the trend of doing vocal features at the top?
Sure. Go for it.
So our two guest voices in this episode are Janelle and Michaela Borland, also known as Mike. Janelle, who is Peter Borland's wife, that really threw me off in my notes because I always just call him Borland.
Yeah.
And now there are 3 Borlands.
Yeah, there's 3 Borlands.
Yeah. But Janelle is voiced by Mimi Monaco, who has a total of 4 IMDb credits, all in one-off TV appearances in the late 80s, early 90s. An episode of Twilight Zone.
Oh.
And a couple other things.
Was Twilight Zone still airing in the 80s?
Yeah.
Wow.
But and then Michaela or Mike is voiced by Tierra Abbott, who is a martial artist.
Like professionally?
Yeah, like that. Well, or like was at the as a
time.
child. I don't know if she's continued to do it. But she did stunts for Bad News Bears.
Wow. Okay.
And also a handful of just like random TV appearances.
Okay.
Mid 2000s. A couple like recurring bits on shows that I don't recognize.
Okay.
But yeah. So
There you go.
that's our 2 guest vocals for the episode that we haven't covered before.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you want to just roll the promo?
I think that's what to do.
All right.
What it do?
I'm going to roll the promo.
On the next Adventures in Odyssey, Connie and Joanne meet Agent Borland's family.
Oh, Connie, Joanne, this is Michaela.
Or Mike for short.
But why does it seem like her dad is always missing in action?
He always calls to apologize when he misses games.
And he's not the only one.
Mitch, it's about time. I've been trying to get through to you for 20 minutes.
Sorry.
How will it all turn out? Find out on the next Adventures in Odyssey.
Not sure why it's circus music.
Yeah, I'm getting a very like Oompa Loompas song from Willy Wonka from that. Like, but okay,
No, that's fair.
For like an oddly serious episode, it's
It's not a lighthearted episode.
No, which is surprising because like when we were talking beforehand, like in the last episode, like when Mitch was coming in, for some reason in my head, like I thought this was gonna be different, but not the case.
Nope.
So the episode begins with like Connie. It's Connie and Joanne, right? And they're pulling into
they're like driving through the neighborhood to get to Mitch's apartment.
Yeah.
Joanne makes like an under her breath comment about like these apartments seem very
Economic.
economical.
Yeah.
To just be like Mitch has a tiny apartment,
Yeah.
which
Or he lives in
whatever.
a rough area.
He's a bachelor in DC
Yeah.
who
presumably makes good money. I can't imagine being in the FBI.
yeah, but
Doesn't
he's
pay well.
also like still in training.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like
So,
he literally just moved there.
yeah,
Like if he has a closet, he is doing fine.
yeah.
And then so they pull in. Connie's on the phone with him, and she's talking to Mitch, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
that's when we find out that they're just finishing up the case on Andromeda.
Yep, they're
which,
finishing up.
Name drop. We are still covering Novacom
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and we will be for 5 more episodes. Then
Goodbye.
never again.
And then never again.
We will never address Novacom ever
Or mention
following
it.
That.
We
No,
can't.
nope. It's dead to us.
I have spent an entire year of my life talking about Novacom.
Yeah, by the time we're done, that will be true. It's
Yeah.
not quite true yet.
But it's close.
Oh, yeah.
It's too close.
Yep. So the big thing here. Well, so they name drop the Andromeda case. It also she brings up that it's been 2 weeks and a day since
Yeah.
they last talked, which is when they had their fight. So I
Yeah.
guess that's the road trip took 2 weeks.
Yeah,
more or
yeah.
less.
So the road trip took a long time, and Mitch is saying that he is busy. He's not like available right now. And then Connie like says like she understands and whatnot, and then she busts in on him like in his apartment, and thank goodness nothing else was happening.
Well, he's walking out. The
Yeah,
door,
yeah.
and she, she can't. I mean, she doesn't have a key. Like,
Yeah.
Actually, she knocks on the door, and he comes up to it, because he says to her on the phone, like, "Hey, someone's at the door. Let me come out." And then it's Connie, which is like kind of an overplayed trope, but I love it here.
Oh, it's so cute, and the way he says
it's so fun.
It's so because they're like on the phone and whatever. It's like Connie, and she's like, you can tell like she's got a big grin on her face. And then we get another wit intro.
I know.
What?
A hat trick of wit intros.
Yeah. This is the hat trick. This is throwing your ball caps onto the ice and whatever.
A nice turkey.
Yeah,
some may say.
For a bowling analogy, for wit intros, this is what we got.
Whatever. I don't know.
Whatever.
Well, he once again not even mentioned.
Nope.
But he's our main character, and I don't know. Paul Harlinger demanded. I must be at the beginning of this episode. If I'm not going to be in it, you gotta put me in.
I wonder if that's a thing. I wonder if it's like wit.
There's got to be episodes with no wit, though.
With no intro and no wit mention.
There's got to be.
Oh well, because all the time where wit was gone.
Well, yes, but that's pre-Paul Harlinger. But during his stay on the show, I can't imagine that he had some contract that demanded him be heard in every episode. Because it's not as though he doesn't get credited at the end.
No. He just does the intro.
So, and that's pre-recorded. He's not re-recording that every time. He's not Nathan Haverstick.
What a hero. What an absolute hero. He gives so much. And so we come back in from the intro with Connie apologizing to Mitch. And then Mitch apologizes back. And it's super sweet because she's like, they kind of go through it really fast, which is... I guess, just the rush nature of the event, but, but
it also, we've kind of established from the get-go that this fight wasn't a huge deal to begin with.
Yeah, it was just this is just an excuse for her to come out and see him.
Yeah. And it's more of a gesture of goodwill than it is, I needed to apologize in person.
Yeah. That is, that is actually nuts to me. And I get it, I'm an exceptionally clingy person, but they didn't talk for 2 weeks at all.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I guess this isn't, but they had instant messenger and stuff like that, and emails.
Yeah, but she was also on the road, so she didn't have internet.
Yeah, that's fair.
She could have called from Joanne's new cell phone. But...
they could have texted on her, presumably, Nokia brick phone.
Yeah.
Early 2000s had texting.
I know, but
not good texting.
No.
And so
T9.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
No, I don't actually. That is a foreign language to me. What is T9?
T9 was when you would text with the numbers before you had phones that had letters on them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You had to Yeah. It was before QWERTY keyboard phones.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, my grandmother still does that. Shout out Gloria Taliana.
I can't decide whether or not to cut that.
She deserves it. She's a saint. If it means anything. Right. That's a tangent, not getting into it. So Mitch has to leave, and then they're going over to the Borlands, right?
Yeah.
What? Are they friends with the Borlands? I get that, you're in the area, but,
it is a clear, plot contrivance to be hey, the Borlands are in D.C.
How would they have
Connie
gotten
just
in
stays
contact
with the Borlands.
Yeah, why would
Even though Connie's had, 2 interactions?
Yeah, and,
she puts it out like she was contacting him. Well, because Mitch says, wait till Borland hears about this or whatever, and she's like, I'm headed over there now. That's where I'm staying.
Yeah.
And so
it's just so surprising that they would do that, and also that I just don't get it.
Well, it is, you purely just have to recognize it as
it's a plot device.
They wanted the character, they wanted Connie to stay with pre-existing characters, and wanted opportunities to give Connie a taste of being an FBI wife.
Yeah. Which was
So-
really good. It was a really good thing.
Right.
And
No, like
and it fleshes out Borland's character.
It all works,
Yeah.
except for the initial conceit where it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mitch has to rush off. He's got a meeting or class or one or the other because he is currently like working Andromeda stuff for the FBI while taking FBI Academy classes.
Oh.
So he's got a very packed schedule.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
And so Connie gets back into the car and is clearly upset about the fact that Mitch had to run off. They were able to set up dinner plans for that night, but she was bummed that she didn't get to spend time with him.
Yeah.
And this is a continuing conflict throughout this whole episode that is incredibly well written.
Because she says a thing.
Connie... Oh, sorry.
So she says a thing when she sits down with Joanne, like, because Joanne's like, seems like something's up, and she's like, well, I guess I expect too much of these moments. And that's a kind of a motif that comes back later and at the very end of the episode as well.
Yeah. So the thing with it is that Connie is absolutely in the wrong here. She just showed up on the door of her boyfriend who she hasn't talked to in 2 weeks and expected to spend time with him.
Yeah. Who is, as she knows, incredibly busy.
Right. So she's not right in being upset, but it is 100% understandable that she is.
Yeah.
Her character, while being wrong, is very real.
Yeah, and like
you're like,
you can sympathize
no,
with it.
That doesn't seem like, oh, they're doing like the irrationally clingy Connie, but it's like, no, you would have that thing. And she even addresses the conflicted nature of it, where she's like, yeah, like I do expect too much from this. I shouldn't have just assumed that I could come down here and jump in on his life, but I did, and it's hard.
Yeah, well, and
I
also like you
really
can
appreciate
understand.
that.
Yeah, you can understand both sides super well, and like, yeah, like from her perspective, like with the exception of the initial Mitch being like Connie like surprised and like seemed happy, like he seems incredibly rushed, incredibly disconnected. Like obviously it's not, it's Odyssey. We're not gonna get like them making out for 30 seconds or anything like that, but like. It doesn't seem like there was much affection.
He's super
there.
excited to see her.
Yeah.
But he's work focused at the moment, and also Mitch is like rightfully so.
Yeah.
He is trying to start this new job and go to class, and it's his dream job, and he has plans that he needs to get there for.
Yeah.
Right at this moment. Like
Connie has no like
for this one,
right. Yeah.
For this one, he doesn't have a leg to stand, or she doesn't have a leg to stand on as much. Later in the episode,
she does.
Right. Later in the episode, Mitch is more disconnected and it's less justified. But here, it's like, no, like this all seems reasonable.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the way humans work, and it's
good.
Really well written.
It's really, really good. I'm surprised it's not written by Kathy Buchanan.
Yeah. Well, Hoopler's consistently good.
Oh yeah, no, but Buchanan notoriously does the Connie and Mitch stuff.
And we'll be writing the next two.
Oh, okay.
The wrap up to the Connie and Mitch arc as we are covering. Yeah. Which this episode is like Connie and Mitch is the B plot of this episode, maybe? Or is it a double A? Like
I would call it a double A because it is so much of a what we learned from the Borlands directly applies to the conflict with Connie and Mitch, and like as far as time is being spent, like Mitch is mentioned just as much. There's just as much parallels being drawn. Like as much as you can have a double A plot. I would call this a double A.
Yeah, no, that's probably fair. I can make arguments for either one being the A plot.
Yeah.
But the title is off the Borland side of things, not the Mitch side of things. So
focus on the family thinks that. Nah, at least.
Also, they just wanted to keep the color thing going.
Do you think that was actually intentional? Is that like a
The
thing?
color thing? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a note in the official guide. So when Eugene and Bernard did their road trip ages ago, they were all number. Like it was first something, one or a couple.
One for the
things.
money,
Right?
Two for the road, or something
right.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so they were all numbers, and so for this one, they decided to make them all color related.
Okay. Interesting.
Which gives us, the color saga,
What
as we've
excuse
been
do we
calling
have to
it.
have to color cover
Which
the Eugene and Bernard road trip? Because those episodes are so good.
I mean, dude, we can cover whatever we want. It's our show.
It's true. Haha, suck it, listeners. You're at our whims, is what we want to cover.
I mean,
Not really.
but kind of like I have a couple things that I want to cover that are not going to be particularly popular, but I think would be really fun.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. Well, there's literally hundreds of episodes. So.
Almost 1,000.
Okay.
So,
Then
yeah.
we go back to the Borlands, right?
Yeah, so we get introduced to Mike and to Janelle, and we find out that Janelle collects antiques, has this very nice Hitchcock rocker,
Yeah.
a nice old rocking chair that Joanne immediately notices, and
And she knows that from Borland that Joanne collects antiques or has a store, right?
she knows from Connie when
that
they were
Connie.
arranging things, but she doesn't actually know that Joanne's like down here to do antiques.
Oh, okay.
Which is a little surprising, but
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, we've never met her before, so
Yeah.
she doesn't have to know anything.
Her name is Janelle. I've only known one person named Janelle, and it's the music artist.
Yes,
Yeah.
Miss Janelle Monáe is all I was thinking of as well. But
It's very difficult, but I sojourn on. So then, so we have the connection with that, and they want, Janelle wants to take Joanne to the Smithsonian at some point to to look at the compass together because it might have historical significance. And then we cut to the basketball game, right?
yeah, well, so we get introduced to Michaela,
Oh yeah.
who is the daughter of Janelle and Peter Borland. She goes by Mike, and so she mentions that she's got a basketball game, and Connie and Joanne decide to go along
Yeah.
to it, and it sounds great.
It sounds so good. I had that written down too. That it's just like, oh, I mean, I've attended and been a part of several youth basketball games in my day, and it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, well done, Mr. Alan Hurley.
He's really
Who's
carrying
bringing
his own.
his A game for the sound in this episode.
There's not much sports in Odyssey, but
No,
when there is,
I feel
they
like
do a
when
good
there
job.
is, it's basketball.
yeah, basketball or sometimes baseball.
Yeah,
Which
I think, or
baseball's
softball.
Yeah,
but-
like those are pretty easy because it's
Yeah.
on ground, like it's on grass and stuff, and you have like the bat hitting the ball. So
Yep. Yeah, football doesn't work too much in
Yeah.
in audio only form.
just a lot of crunching and the occasional
Yeah.
tweet.
Oh, we do get we get tennis at one point with Connie and Mitch.
Oh yeah, we do get tennis, but only very briefly.
Yes.
With the sports centric episodes, did you ever listen to the Holy Hoopster?
Yeah.
Okay,
Of course.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know if you made it that far.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So additionally, throughout the thing, Janelle's waiting for Borland to show up.
yeah.
And he's not. He promised he'd be there, but he's distracted.
Mike's having
whatever.
an exceptionally good game.
Yeah, she's doing real well. And
Balling
also, then what?
Doesn't Connie talk?
They're trying to. They want to go to Janelle's going to go along with Joanne to the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Because Connie can stay home to watch Mike because Mitch cancels their evening plans.
Yeah.
Which is
For
a bummer.
presumably the similar reason in which Borland wasn't there. And
Yes.
stuff with Andromeda.
Yeah.
Is the reason.
Novacom stuff is like wrapping up, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so then we just get some fun scenes of Connie and Mike hanging out together back at the house.
Yeah. Which is it's really cute. Like Connie's like really trying
so
to be
good with kids.
Yeah, she's like being really personable and like, you know, befriending Mike, and Mike's very abrasive to it at first, where she just seems kind of like disinterested in it and very uncomfortable. But Connie kind of wears her down, and they eventually end up in the treehouse that Mike reveals that she's been working on with her dad.
Yeah. We also find out in there that Mike memorizes sports scores for her dad, and we're seeing that a lot of her sports stuff seems to center around like a relationship with her dad, who is a busy man.
Yeah, who
and
really
that
likes
even
sports.
comes up with the treehouse being like, this is our project, but like we don't get to do it that much. So.
Yeah, because he's there, and then she says like, I try to do some of it myself and stuff like that.
But I can't, and so Connie goes. It is, and apparently an incredible treehouse.
Yeah,
they talk here about the fact that it's gonna have like a separate bedroom.
Yeah,
with a door.
There's a bathroom, I think.
Yeah, well, there's a kitchen.
Oh, there's a kitchen.
I think we find out later in the episode. There's, you know, all sorts of cool stuff.
Would you rig up indoor plumbing to a treehouse? I mean, I guess you just have to run pipes.
Yeah, and it also might not necessarily be a working kitchen.
Oh,
it might be like
a play kitchen.
Right. Yeah. It's like a Discovery Channel style treehouse.
Yeah, exactly.
And so while they're, you know, working in this treehouse and whatnot, Connie finds what I imagine is a cedar trunk with a bunch of stuff in it, including
ballet shoes.
Yeah.
And pictures of Mike in ballet outfits.
I actually just realized that in my head, this has always been that scene in Tarzan.
Yeah, I totally get that.
They're
Yeah,
in the treehouse and they're like going through the trunk,
and they find all this stuff.
I was like, why do I think it's a cedar trunk? I think they just say box. Then I'm like, right.
Oh, Tarzan. That's exactly it, because in my head, like, the decor of what the treehouse looks like is like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Wow.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we thought the same thing. Shocker.
And so she used to take ballet, and
stop.
Connie kind of brings up like, oh, like you used to have a girly side, like we should do something with that or whatever, and she shuts it down. It's like,
and like she says like, you know, I can like do your hair up like that, like if you want, and because Mike admits that like every now and then she likes to look at them and try them on, even though they don't fit. Which is, it's really sweet. But she, again, like you said, like she really shuts that down.
And then we get
parents arguing, right?
I think, I don't know, maybe my favorite scene in this episode. This episode's got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it's a very, like, it feels like a TV episode.
Yeah. This scene is so real.
Yeah.
In a way that Odyssey sometimes just feels kind of like, I don't know, like soap
because they don't need to,
and that sort of thing. Whereas this feels like a genuine argument between a married couple.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like presumably in the kitchen or something like that at night. Between, you know, obviously Mr. and Mrs. Borland, Peter and Janelle for the layman. And it's basically about, you know, Janelle's upset at Peter for not being there for the basketball game, and like saying like how well she did and stuff like that, and Peter's like, well, you know, like work came up and stuff like that, like you know, I wanted to be there, I was planning on being there, but it's not in my control. And to which Janelle fires back like, well, you're never there, like I feel like I haven't seen you in months. And like you said, like it's such a real thing where it's like,
and it doesn't get resolved, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Yeah, they're very upset at each other, but more so just like upset at the situation.
Yeah,
and it's such a very real situation that I think they definitely leave it intentionally unresolved, because they're not trying to paint this life in a good light, because for Connie to see the flaws in it, they can't make it look nice.
Yes.
And so, but it is so good, and it is so like. Yeah, it's palatable and relatable in a way that Odyssey often isn't, because it forces such a, like, you know, internal resolution or moral whereas this is very much just like real people going through real things that doesn't tie directly to a theme.
Yeah, very much so.
Um,
And then we have another basketball game.
yeah,
Because they're every day?
I guess like twice a week maybe.
Yeah, and the other thing...
I mean, maybe if she plays for a school team, because I've had games on like back-to-back days for school teams.
Yeah, but it's also like, I think it's during the summer.
Oh,
Because...
I don't know.
Unless it's a weekend or something. But Mike is definitely at home when they first show up, and then they go to this game, which is in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then, because the evening is when they have the Smithsonian thing and when Connie stays home with Mike. The next day, then, we also, like, that game is also in the afternoon. So, I am assuming that we're still in the schools out period of the show, which seems to line up, even though this episode aired in November. It seems to end up with line up with the show's internal logic. But yeah, we've got games every day.
I mean, they're kids,
and it seems more Borland missing stuff. While I'm like, yeah, that's a bummer. Also seems more reasonable when you acknowledge the fact that these are afternoon games and he works a job that, yes, goes later, but also most parents would struggle to make afternoon games.
Yeah, 3 o'clock game.
But the issue is more, though, that he's saying that he's going to be there and then not,
isn't. Yeah.
Which is also Mitch's issue.
Hey, parallels.
Yeah. So, oh, sorry.
No. And so so basically we are in the basketball game. We find out that the Smithsonian didn't quite go through the way that they wanted to. I think the guy wasn't there or something.
Yeah.
And so they'll have to come back, what they say, like Sunday or something like that.
Saturday, maybe.
Saturday, yeah.
You can't do work on Sunday, Andrew.
It's illegal.
Saturday.
Not in Adventures in Odyssey. And then Mike is also not playing great. Like, she hasn't scored yet or anything like that.
She's
because
doing
apparently
poorly.
She's like baby Kobe Bryant or something like that. Like, because then the minute that Borland shows up, she immediately, in my head, drives down the court and dunks or something like that, because
she immediately scores after
she recognizes that her
dad
there.
shows up. And then,
like, what kind of skills is this?
And then right after that hits the ground hard. Well, I mean, it's youth. She's motivated. We get the impression that she's a good player.
Maybe she just runs really fast.
Yeah, and then she, after scoring, falls, sprains her wrist, and is going to spend the next 3 weeks in a sling.
Yeah, they go to the hospital, right?
ER.
Which, okay, brief tangent. They rush the court when their kid falls. That's not a thing. Like, coaches and then trainers go out. The parents aren't allowed on the court because
they might just be going down to the sidelines, though. We don't actually know.
Well, they say something like, we should get down there or something like that.
Right. That might just be to the sidelines, though.
Okay. I'm like, oh no. If parents stormed the court every time somebody got injured, that'd be a rough basketball game or a soccer game in my experience.
And so, yeah, we now, Connie and Joanne have a good conversation, in which, they're just talking about trying to coordinate with these moving schedules and how, much time Mitch is putting into all this stuff, and Joanne kind of jokes and Connie asks, like, how you guys did, and she's like, well, Jack and I got married.
Yeah. So she says, like, it's nice to think of it that way. Like, it doesn't, Joanne kind of says, like, it doesn't really solve problems, but in that case it does or did, and like wouldn't recommend it.
This isn't a solution I'm recommending for you. This just happened to be what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is good. It was just really good, because then Connie says, like, like, sometimes I think about it, like, maybe that would be the answer. Like, maybe if I just was married to him and, like, had that, that would be better. But I think that again, like what this episode does so well is that it gives you the glimpse into the life of like, so what does being married actually look like? And it does not solve the problems that they're having.
No,
which
it does a good job of not like candy coating it, of being like it's not a bad thing, but like it's also not the solution to a problem.
Exactly.
And so then we get a scene with Connie and Mike. She's very poorly hiding the fact that she's stoked that she sprained her wrist.
Yeah, and she doesn't have to play basketball.
Yep. And she, throughout the conversation, like, Connie kind of makes a ballet comment, and Mike seems kind of into that, but that requires 2 arms.
Yeah.
Her wrist is in a sling for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
She can't do ballet.
No.
Not even slightly. It is a balance sport.
Yeah.
You cannot...
She could do, like, the standing, like, first position stuff, like, real basic, and then she'd have to have her one good hand on a bar.
Right, yeah.
So, you know,
no.
if you want to hear ballet talk, boy, don't come to me, but maybe a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have one of your siblings on the pod.
Yeah, they'll talk about it. They would find a way. They have danced, like, heavily concussed and stuff like that. They're silly. I love them, but oh my.
But yeah, then they all she also then kind of scoffs it off and is like, yeah, that'd be, that's girly, whatever.
Yeah.
And Connie says,
kinda
what's wrong with doing something that girls do?
Yeah.
Which she doesn't have a great retort to, other than bringing up the fact that she had overheard her dad say that, he had always wanted a boy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what spurred on.
Well, no, so she says that she heard her dad talk about not wanting a girl. But later it's revealed that Borland, what he had actually said was that he had always wanted a boy.
Okay, yeah.
So
that way.
it's a minute little thing, but it's a lot of her being a kid, like playing into the insecurity that she isn't affirmed by her dad.
Right. Yeah.
And Connie kind of addresses that.
Yeah. So that was kind of her whole reason for being into sports.
Yeah.
And going by Mike instead of Michaela, and all of that stuff. The thing too that I maybe have an issue with is Connie, and maybe it's supposed to draw attention to how much her parents have going and how like little attention they're giving things, but Connie's been here for 2 days and has pieced all of this together relatively easily.
Yeah.
Her parent, like, this has presumably been years. Like, she's on a basketball team and is good.
Yeah, it's been at least a couple years.
The fact that and like, she's, like we said, visibly excited about the sprained wrist.
Yeah.
Like, how hasn't the rest of her family picked up on it? Like, I get the show, needs, Connie to, like it makes sense for the show, but also...
It's hard for her
I wish it had been more of a thing where Mike was had less disdain for the basketball, and it was more just like,
what I really want to do is...
Right, like, I want to do this other stuff, where here it seems like she has actively for years been doing something that she dislikes.
Yeah.
Which is tough.
Yeah, and without her parents figuring it out and stuff.
Right.
But, I mean, I will say that, like, within the grind of it and stuff, like, you can kind of put on a face for your parents that, like, they don't understand how unhappy you are with your current situation.
Yeah.
Like, I was on a soccer team for 2 years with people I actively disliked, and I hated going to every single practice. And my parents didn't know.
Right.
It was only after, like, towards the end where I told them, I'm like, hey, this is just a thing that I'm doing because I needed to get better, you know?
Right, but it's the thing of, like, Connie can see it, but the parents can't.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's not a huge issue.
No, not really.
And so then we have this beautiful scene of Mike putting on all of, Connie does her hair and she has, I don't know, presumably a dress or ballet stuff or
she
whatever.
Looks girly.
Right. Whatever on. And kind of, walks in and initially Borland's kind of like, what? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Did Connie do this or whatever? And she's like, no, like I wanted to, this is part of who I am too.
Yeah.
And immediately he's just like, oh yeah, like absolutely, like
yeah,
you're
you look
my
beautiful.
Kid. I'm not gonna hold I'm not gonna suddenly turn on you and be mean about all this.
And he says so Mike then comes clean about like changing for her dad, like to make her like her and stuff like that. And then she brings up the comment that she overheard about him not wanting a girl, and Agent Borland, Peter Borland, says like this a really good line. He's like, your mom and I don't love you for what you do. We love you because you're our daughter.
Period.
And that's like full stop.
Like and because of like the quote is like, we love you because you're our daughter, period. And because of that, I want you to be happy doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Which is really sweet. I don't know. Well, so yeah, I'm gonna go in on a little side tangent or whatever. This episode could play very well as an allegory about people in the LGBT community.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like incredibly well so, but it is clearly not going for that.
No.
Because it's a focus on the family production.
And it's a child.
Unless what do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's clearly not going that because it's focused on the family and it's also a kid.
Sure.
Whereas stereotypically it would be like a teenager.
Right, a teen or something. Right. But I mean, if it's an allegory, it doesn't need to.
Like, I guess, yeah.
Like it's not. I'm not saying this is literally outlining that. I'm saying that like it focuses in a lot of the same parameters of like,
hey,
dad, her, coming out and her dad being like, no, like I still like I don't try, like you don't need to.
No,
hide
it's
yourself
okay
from
because
me.
God designed her to be a woman and gender norms and stuff like that. So she's actually doing what God wants for her by dressing in pink. So
yeah, well, it is an interesting thing where you can get away with this episode because like sporty girl is a thing that like we accept.
Yeah.
Although even like I don't know, it seems even a little bold for Focus on the Family to go as far as calling her Mike.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
There's something about it where it's just like, yeah, where she is really playing up the like athletic boyishness of this role, and like I'm all for it, but I can't imagine them them doing the opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there couldn't be an episode where
there's a boy that plays basketball but secretly wants to do dance.
No, where there's a boy doing dance who secretly wants to do basketball, I guess would be the actual translation.
Well,
because she does basketball but actually wants to do dance.
But like the gender norm and what we would think would be okay is the boy wants to do basketball,
right,
or is doing basketball for his dad, but he actually wants to do dance or something like that.
Right. And yeah, so like I can't imagine them doing that.
It is definitely close enough to be like, huh.
Right, where I'm a little bit like, did Hoovler just pull like a real good fast one?
Yeah.
Like is he secretly like, this is my chance to make this statement and no one's gonna know?
Yeah.
I like that. That's my headcanon.
Oh yeah, I'm very okay with it because I already like the Hoobs and I'm rooting for him.
But yeah, it does it plays out very much in a way where you like where I feel like those connections are there, intended or most likely not at all.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
They're definitely there. Well, and listening it in, 16 years later when this is so much more of a thing.
It's a conversation point, and it's something that like we've been exposed to the like stories like this with that specific like tone to them in a lot of pop culture.
Has Odyssey addressed LGBTQ at all?
Not straightforwardly.
They've addressed in the Truth Chronicles, they do, like, the whole, like, you know, Whit not wanting to hang a pride poster or something like that in Whit's End because he doesn't support that view of the family or something like that.
Yes, that's exactly. It's always because they're focused on the family.
And the only good kind of family where there's 2 kids and a mom and a dad. And
right. Anytime that stuff is addressed, it's super coded to be like, you know, it's all family stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not how I imagine a family, which can also be extended out to be like the people must be married and those things as well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more blanket.
Yeah. They definitely like that.
But yeah.
Good on Hoobs for pulling a fast one if that's what he did.
Yeah, and if not, like, I think, see, the thing is, like, I think the episode works really well without that being
It
subtext.
doesn't. Yeah, it's exactly. It's so good.
But
And, like,
as it hit this point, I was like, that's interesting.
It feels like
I want to
NBC
talk about
sitcom
it, even though I don't think it's actually what was intended.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting point of conversation.
Yeah. Well, and it is a lot, like, I think that it's a message that is very important in that context, like, within the episode, but also, like, carries through to being now, where it's, like, the idea that, you know, your identity is not based in what you do.
Right. And even taking this, like, completely throwing out that read of it, the basic narrative of you don't need to change yourself to get your parents' approval.
Yeah.
Because that is, like, the baseline of what this episode is saying.
Yeah. That
is a really good story of, like, your parents are gonna love you. Like, you don't need to try and fit into the role that they
have for you.
Yeah. Right. And in this one, it's not even a role that they have. Like, she is making an assumption based on a conversation that she overheard. And yeah, it's a cool.
It's really good. Funny enough, that's not where the episode ends.
No,
we have a good bit more.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a quick bit more. But.
Yeah. So we have Borland and Connie and Mike, and her mom, I guess Janelle, all working on the treehouse together, because after that sweet moment, they bring up, like, well, you know, can we work on the treehouse together?
Yeah.
And we get a really, really sweet moment of them being up there, them working on it, like stuff with something with hinges, I think.
Yeah, hinges is for the door to the bedroom.
Yeah. And Connie's kind of there, like, kind of witnessing this interesting unity, but also she's gotten a lot of valuable perspective from this, which then transfers directly into Connie has those dinner plans with Mitch, as have been delayed.
Yeah.
Well,
no, this is just a single time.
Yeah.
This is we get another great scene of Connie having a comical interaction with a waiter, as previously seen when she was trying to meet with Whit at Hal's Diner. And she's like, you know, I've been late to so many things, but never when they're this important.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, but whatever.
Yeah. Find it hard to believe.
But anyways, and so yeah,
who is the waiter voiced by? Because he's a familiar voice.
It's Bob Hoose.
Okay.
Yeah. Their waiter banter or whatever is
so good.
Like, yeah, her banter's fun. So then Mitch finally does show up. Like, it's almost being played as though this is going to be like he completely stands her up.
Yeah.
Which would have been crappy. But it wouldn't have had nearly the same punch as what actually happens.
Yeah.
And so it's a really great, like, trope subversion where you're like, oh, Mitch is going to stand her up and that's rough.
Yeah.
And then it's actually, he shows up and is not there.
Yeah, he shows up.
So not
she shows
present.
up late. He's, apologizes for being late, apologizes for not getting ready. Presumably he came straight from work. Like,
he
I'm
did.
imagining his hair is, like, disheveled.
He talks about, I think he came straight from school. He didn't get the change.
Yeah.
His phone rings. He takes the call.
Yeah.
And is like, no, like, I can't do that. Whatever. Hangs up. I'm like, oh, come on, Mitch. Mute your phone. Like,
well, so he has
mute your phone during dinner.
He has So he shows up. They kind of make awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Then it is very uncomfortable. And then there's the first phone call. He takes it. It seems like it's urgent, but he's like, no, like I have plans tonight. Like you can do this one without me or whatever.
Yep.
And then he hangs up on them, and then he starts talking to Kanye again.
Yep.
And it's like, are they talking about the weather or something? It's like talking about how she's liking Virginia or it's this very awkward, disconnected dialogue.
That Mitch wants to get out of the conversation. Connie's not entirely sure where to go with it because it's been a while since they've talked and they're catching up to do. And it always, like, when you see somebody for the first time after a while, it always takes a little bit to get back in the rhythm of it.
You'd be like, oh, wait, this is what we do?
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then Mitch's phone rings again. And
yeah.
He just mutes it.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, no, he picks up and says, I'll be down or something.
Oh, that is the time where he's like, I'll be down after this or whatever.
Yeah, I'll be down as soon as I can, I think is what he says.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah.
And then he mutes his phone, puts it down, and starts talking to Connie.
And Connie's basically like, look, you just gotta go. Like, you're not actually here.
And Mitch says, like, Mitch plays it off like, no, like, I want to be here. Like, I made plans with you. Like, I want to be here. And Connie calls him on it. He's like, no, like, you actually, your head is somewhere else. You want to be somewhere else. Like, and Mitch kind of fights back, and she's like, just go.
Yeah. And props to Connie for recognizing that and calling him on it.
Yeah.
I wish Mitch had been, I mean, I wish Mitch was actually able to be present. And I wish that, I can't imagine having a job that you can't walk away from for an evening.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's people who do have it, and, like, it might legitimately be Mitch's issue here. But, like, I think more than anything, he's just struggling with, there's a lot going on, and he hasn't really figured out how to navigate it yet.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So it's not as though he doesn't want to be there and he's trying to get away. It's just he doesn't know how to balance work and life at all. And I mean, we've seen Borland barely be able to do it as well. So it's understandable.
Yeah, and he does have a lot on his plate. Honestly, I mean, the best case scenario, I would have liked to seen, like, Mitch stick it out and stay with Connie, and then, like, it'd be uncomfortable, and then slowly it turns into something better. But obviously, like, if you haven't picked up on it at this point, like, the relationship isn't going great at this point. Like,
they're definitely struggling, and it seems very much like they are still super into each other, but, like, they're starting to move in separate directions. And
well, and so for me,
and that's been true since we started covering this Connie and Mitch stuff.
Yeah,
is their ships are headed in opposite directions, but they are still trying everything they can to make it work because they are in love.
Yeah, and in this episode, I think would be the first time where we see it, where it's like that love is not as clearly shown here. Like, Connie's really putting off, like, is doing a thing, and Mitch just isn't quite there, and they're just in different places. And so Connie sends Mitch away, and Mitch says kind of like an awkward, like, I love you, and like, I don't even think you hear Connie audibly say, like, I love you too. You just hear you too. And that's where the episode goes out.
Yeah, and that's our ending note. So this episode is almost part one of, like, a 3-part thing. Like, it's clearly setting up the next 2 episodes, which is like a full-blown 2-parter with, like, no, like, the arc stretches across both. But it's I like it that it's not just a setup episode. Like, it's a setup episode, but it also has this plot with Mike that's really good. Yeah,
that's super compelling. That it's internally, like, it's completely self-contained, but it's also very relevant to the larger plot. And then we get a decent Chris wrap up where she's talking about, like,
I actually have quotes if you want that, because she says, I'm sure Mike is glad to know that her dad will love her no matter what. unless she's gay.
No, no.
But it
Or
once
even
again
questioning.
like it once again played into that thing where I was like, you could read this subtextually, or you could just take it as, hey, you don't need to change yourself for your parents' approval. And then she goes, and it's good for us to know that the same is true about God. We're his children, and he loves us no matter what.
Yeah.
Which, I do like as a note to end on. I wish Focus on the Family embraced that value more than other values.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is, and we knew that going into this show, that there were going to be points where we were like, this could, I don't know. The thing that this episode, like, I cannot fault this episode for what it is not.
Yeah.
Because it does what it's trying to do so well.
So very
and
well.
while I think, like, oh, there's maybe some interesting stuff you could have done on top of that, it also didn't need it.
No, it was...
And, like, you can totally read it with that subtext as the episode stands, and it works.
It's just an episode that has aged incredibly well.
Right. If you were to show someone this episode with no context of what Focus on the Family is, they would probably be like, oh, like, maybe they were hinting at that, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And, because of our relationship with that, we know that that's not what they were hinting at, but it doesn't detract from the episode, in my opinion. It just...
Boy,
it just
couldn't they?
kind of feels like a missed opportunity. That being said, it's not that missed of an opportunity because it is so well crafted.
Yeah, like it's not like it was
like, I
a
feel
9
like
that could have been a 10. It's just like it's a 9 one way and it's a 9 the other way as
right,
well.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. It was just a really, solid episode. It's not light. It is not it is like I said, I for some reason thought that it was going to be more lighthearted, but it's not.
No, it's
very good.
Properly heavy episode, and it sets up really nicely for this next one.
Do you have any more final thoughts?
No. That's my wrap up for the episode. Before we jump ahead to plugs, we've got a couple more iTunes reviews to read.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we got 2 of them. Oh, sorry, Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, iTunes.
Is it actually? Oh yeah, Apple Music.
Yeah. But yeah, we have additional reviews from both. Okay. So this first one is from LTST Olson. It's a 5-star review. Is that Lieutenant Saint?
It might be
Lieutenant Saint Olson, who says, "Great podcast. I love this podcast, and I hope you make more. It's perfect for people who love Adventures in Odyssey but are getting tired of the same old thing. I could do without some of the language though. Keep it up! 3 exclamation points." Just
thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Lieutenant Saint Olson.
Yeah, I will take it as Lieutenant
thank you.
Saint.
Yeah, thank you for loving us in spite of our flaws.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it, and also tweet at us and tell me what the LTST means. Yeah. I am genuinely very curious.
And then our other review is a 5-star review from Crafty Violinist, who says, "Enjoy this podcast. Haha, somehow I never left a review, I think. Welp, I'm officially known as Gracie of the blog. Nice."
Aw, hi Gracie.
So
Gracie of the blog. Great blog.
Gracie
great
of welcome to Odyssey blog fame. Left us a 5-star review.
Gotta love her.
Yeah. Additionally, we were left a 5-star rating with no review. So thank you, anonymous 5-star rating person.
I don't want to challenge this, but I wonder what our first 1-star review is gonna be.
Don't you just?
Yeah, there's the wood. Knocking on it.
Don't. Yeah. Keep the 5-star streak alive.
It's great. I love it.
I love that we have 6 5-star ratings.
Yeah, it makes me smile. Thank you guys.
It does make me smile as well.
It's nice to know that this means something to other people.
Yeah.
And not just people I know in real life.
Yeah. It is a great feeling. You plugging anything?
Follow me on Twitter, I guess. I just started tweeting more.
Andrew is stepping his Twitter game up.
Yeah,
so.
it's not great, but it is.
Andrew_Sabo?
Just Andrew Sabo.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, pretty easy. Yeah. What about you?
What?
you have
Oh
any
no,
plug?
I'm not plugging anything.
Plug free? All right.
Yeah. And yeah,
Thank you guys.
We'll be back next week with episode 533, Something Blue, Part 1.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye, folks.
Wadfam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at wadfamchalkpod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Episode 38, Pink is Not My Color, was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Sabo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us next time for more of the Wadfam Chalk Pod.